All right. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to finish up talking about the queries. So right at the moment, I have created the rep customer query, and the rep customer query was created by linking the book rep table and the customer data table. And when I linked the two tables, I also set them to be ascending on book rep number and ascending on customer number. And when I run it, it looks like this. So this is on page 101. But the next thing that we want to do is what's on page 102. And what that is that we want to change our join. So our join line right at the moment is set to have only include rows where the join fields of both tables are equal. Well, in table number 1, the book rep table, there is a record for what's his name? Statnik, Michael Statnik. And Michael Statnik is brand new and doesn't have any customers yet. So because he doesn't have any customers yet, that means he doesn't exist in the customer data table. Because he doesn't have any, there are no customers that have him as a book rep. So what that means is that if we include rows where the join fields from both tables are equal, it means we will not include Michael Statnik. Well, we want to include him. So to include him, we're going to change this to say include all records from the book rep table and only those records from the customer table where the join fields are equal. Because what that's going to do is that's going to grab all of the records in book rep, and those that are in the linked table that are equal will also be added. So if I click OK, you'll notice that this line has now changed from being a straight line all the way to being a straight line over here with an arrow pointing over here. And if I run this, Michael Statnik now shows up. And Michael Statnik shows up with no customers because he has no customers. Now, I don't want to save this because if I save it by just doing save, I'm going to override my rep customer query. And I want to have two. I want to have rep customer query and rep customer query after the join. So instead of doing save, I'm going to do file, and I'm going to do save as. And when I do file save as, I am going to save not the database, but rather the object. The object in this case being the query. And I'm going to save the object as the rep customer query. Oops, one too many R's. After the join. So now I have before the join and after the join. So the after the join has Statnik, the before the join does not. So if I want to put this in my Word document, then I'll put them in my Word document. Insert, screenshot, screen clipping. After the join, I've got it in the number 12, or number 11, I mean. For number 12, I want to do the same thing. I want to create another version of this. So I'm going to go on view, and I'm going to change this to say only those that are greater than 20,000. So I need to, actually, no, I don't want to do this one. I want to create a new one because it has different stuff. So I'm going to create a new one. So I'm going to create a new design. I need the book rep and the customer. And I want from the book rep, the number, the last name, first name, and customer number, customer name, and amount paid from the customer table. And then I want to only show those records where the amount paid is higher than 20,000. So to do that, I go into criteria, and in criteria, I go to amount paid. And the greater than symbol, again, is the caret that looks kind of like this. So shift plus period. And then I type in 20,000, 20000. Greater than 20,000. Click on the run. And I get 42, 53, 65, 65, 65. 65. Save this as rep customer query greater than 20K. And this is pages 111 to 112. We're skipping pages 106 to 109, or 110 rather, for the moment. We'll come back to that for part 2. So this one is number 12. I'm going to insert my screenshot. All right, number 13. For number 13, I am going to create a calculation. And for this, I am only going to get the, I just need the customer number, customer name, amount paid, current due, and total amount. So to do that, I'm going to do a create. And I'm going to create my design. And I really only need the customer data table. And in the customer data table, again, I need my customer number and my customer name and my amount paid and my current due. But you'll notice there's no total amount. So we want to create a new field called total amount. And we want total amount to be the amount that was paid plus the amount that is currently due, because that's the total amount. So to do that, what we are going to do, and again, this is on page 112 to 113, we're going to create a calculation. So to create the calculation, we're going to first create the field. So in the field name, we want to call this total amount. And when we are creating this, the easiest way really to to get to this part is actually to right click and then go to zoom, because then it's easier to type it in. And we wanted to say total amount, and then a colon, and then a square bracket with the field names that we want. So the field name is amount paid, and then close square bracket, and then plus square bracket current due, close square bracket. So what this is this is the field amount paid, and this is the field current due. And we're creating a new field called total amount, which is going to be the paid amount and the current due.
The amount paid is between two brackets?
Yes. So I click OK. And if I then view, or rather run, it's generated this new field called total amount, which sums up the data that are in amount paid and the data that are in current due to create the total amount. And I want to save this then as the calculation. The last 4 things that we want to do on this is that I want to, and this is on pages 114 and 115, is that I want to go back to this calculation one. And in this calculation one, I want to create a new version of it. So I'm going to go into view, and I am going to change the words amount paid to just paid. So to do that, I need to click on my amount paid, click on my property sheet, and in amount paid, where it has caption, I want to just say paid. And then for current due, where it says caption, I want to just say due. So that when I run this, instead of saying amount paid and current due, it just now says paid and due. And again, I want to have 2 versions of it. So I'm going to save this as object, as, save as, and this is, what is this one? This one is chapter 2, query number 10. It's just paid and just due. Instead of amount paid and current due, it's just paid and just due. So again, the way that I change that is in my properties. I turn on my property sheet. I go to the field, and when I go to the field, in the caption, I change that to say paid. And in the current due field, I go to the caption and I say due. All right. Number 15. So number 15 has two parts. So number 15, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to create a new query. And all I want is the customer data table. And all I want is just the amount paid. That's it, just the amount paid. And if I were to run this at this point, it shows me all of the amounts paid. But what I really want is I want to know what is the average of the amount paid. So to do that, I click on totals. In the design, I click on totals. And when I click on totals, then down here where it says total group by, I click onto that drop-down menu and I say total average. If I wanted the minimum, I would choose minimum. That would give me the smallest, maximum, the biggest, count would count how many there are, standard deviation, so on. So I want to do average. And when I do average and then I run it, I get the average amount is $21,239.52. And this would then be 15A. So I'm going to save this as chapter 2, query number 11. A. And then I'm going to go back to it, and I want to create only those where the book rep number is book rep number 42. So to do that, I need to get the book rep number. So I pull up the book rep number, and I say on that where the criteria is 42. And when I run that, it now shows me 15,287. But it's showing me the book rep number. So if I don't want to see the book rep number, then where it says show, I click onto that, that little checkbox so that it won't show it. And when I run it now, it only shows me the average of amount paid, 15,000. And I want to save this as an object as part B. And then the final one that I want to do is I want to, in the, I want to create a query of the customer. And I want the book rep number and the amount paid. And I wanted to, I click on the totals to get my totals. And I want to, I want to group by book rep number, but I want to get the average amount paid. So that when I run this, I get book rep number 42 and his average, book rep number 53, and that average, book rep number 65, and that average. And so when I save this, I'm going to save this as, what is this one? This is chapter 2, query number 12. So that in my Word document, I then want to make sure that I get credit for all the rest of them. So I go back, and I haven't done this one. So I go into chapter 2, query 10, insert, screenshot, screen clipping. And I grab this. And then for the next one, which was chapter 11, part A, insert, screenshot, screen clipping of chapter 11, part A. And then part B, insert, screenshot, screen clipping, part B. And then finally, number 12. And once I'm done with all of my screenshots, I want to make sure that I save this. And I want to save this to my computer. And I want to save this as, in my case, Branham, Mark, and this is chapter 2, queries. And to submit it, I would submit just the Word document. So when we're doing this, it's only the Word document, not the database. So that's part 1. Part 2 is that I have the rep customer report and the rep customer form that I want to create. So to create the rep customer form, or the report rather, this is on page 103 to 105. To create the report from the query, you can create the query. So I go in to my report, which I already have. I go to my rep customer query. This is what I'm taking and making the report off of. I create, and then we're doing report wizard. And on report wizard, we're taking the rep customer query. If you prefer to do it from query after the join, that's fine. Either one is fine. And the things that we want are book rep number, first name, last name, number, and name. So all of them. We click on to next. We click on to next. We are not going to group them. And when we create this report, I want to call this then the rep customer. Oops, I didn't want to call it rep. I wanted to call it the rep customer report. So I'm going to close that and rename it. The rep customer report. So here's the report. The next thing that I want to do is I want to create the rep customer form. So I'm going to create the form based on the query. So how do I create the form based on the query? Again, I go back to the query and I create, and then I am going to click on the form button. And it's going to create the form. And then I'm going to save that as the rep customer form. So that I now have the form, I now have the report, and I've got all my queries. And that's it for problem number 2. So for problem number 2, I can upload my database. Now, in this case, the database name is probably still for project 2. So I probably want to save my database name. So I'll do a save as. And in this case, I want to save the database as. And I want to save the database then as random mark, what is it called? Project 2, part 2. And then I upload my Brandon Mark Project 2, Part 2. Where did it go? There it is. Project 2, Part 2. The final thing is that I go back into my my report. I mean, into my database, and I'm going to open up my my rep customer query. And I want to export this as an Excel spreadsheet. To export this as an Excel spreadsheet, I'm going to click on external data. And then in export, I'm going to export as Excel. And I'm going to call this the, what are we calling this? Calling this the last name, first name project. Whoops, that's project 2. Last name, first name, project 2, part 3. And I want to export everything. And if I want to see it, I could open it up. And here it is in my Excel spreadsheet. So that the final thing that I submit is part 3. So the assignments again are all in the Canvas in the database section. Part 1 is querying the database. Part 2 is getting the form and the report. And then part 3 is taking the query and exporting it as a spreadsheet. So that's the end of the stuff that that we're going to do today. I'm going to come around and help anybody that needs any help. But otherwise, that is what we're going to do this week.